Give the gift of a delicious burger from Bulldog Burger, a soup and sandwich from Sweet Pepper's Deli, appetizers and cocktails from The Grill, or even a wood-fired steak from Harvey's. Choice is the perfect gift. An all-in-one gift card from Eat With Us.
We're excited to invite you to Room's Christmas Open House, November 6th through the 8th. Visit our in-store gift shop featuring Peter's Pottery. Enjoy refreshments, door prizes, discounts, and so much more. We can't wait to see you.
Mississippi's trusted weather experts. This is Mississippi Live Weather at 6.
Well, welcome to Mississippi Live Weather at 6. We have an action-packed broadcast tonight because our game of the week is on Thursday instead of Friday. Our chief meteorologist live out there in Oxford. What can you tell us right now?
Well, it is a beautiful evening for football, despite the fact it's Thursday and not Friday. And the reason we're here on Thursday at our Game of the Week location, again, our Mississippi Live Game of the Week presented by Casey Lott and Langston Lott, is because tomorrow there's a chance, and albeit one that we still have questions about, but a chance for some strong thunderstorms. And with that chance, most high schools, not just in this part of the state, but around the state, end up moving their games to tonight to try to avoid any issues related to that. And we do anticipate, again, that was probably a pretty good move on their part to make sure that things are in good shape. So headlines this evening, as we're looking for here, one of the big headlines is going to be that we're looking at beautiful football weather, obviously, for tonight. That's excellent. But tomorrow, things could be different, including storms, maybe even a few severe storms. Now, luckily, that is still a strong Navy, but remains a concern nonetheless. Now, we do know that a major cool down is on the way for next week. And in the transition there is where we're going to have some rain and storm chances over the course of the next couple of days. But tonight, non-factor, we are 64 beautiful degrees. Feels like temperature 64. I was talking to one of the folks here with the Oxford football team. They're like, man, this is the best night we've had all year long. Well, luckily it's timed out well for this game this evening, where the 8-1 Chargers taking on the 6-3 Yellow Jackets there from Starkville. So looking forward to the way that game is going to play out. Over the first 12, which includes, of course, the forecast for this evening, those temperatures expected to be in the upper 50s to maybe mid-50s out there. Light winds out of the south initially here. You can see the first of those rain chances start arriving by the first part of tomorrow morning. The thinking is, though, most of us are probably going to be dry initially, as that moisture is just moisture returning, kind of setting the stage for a more active weather forecast that could include the potential for severe thunderstorms. Now, nothing out there for severe risk tonight. Tomorrow's risk has been trimmed farther to the north. That is an adjustment versus where we were 24 hours ago. You can see up there into Tennessee. We moved a little too far there for a second. That's where that level 2 out of 5 severe weather risk is. This comes back to concentration reports, meaning number of reports, meaning we're most likely to see impact in that zone. But thinking is maybe hail at most. And even there, that threat has some questions related to how that ends up playing out. Closer in view here, if you can see, though, no real issues out there for most of us tonight. That risk tomorrow, more likely than not, to be a bit of a question. And bring it back here to the latest here on Mississippi Live Weather Radar and its latest scans. Caleb, give me an advance button if you would, please. Go to the next one for that to show the risk for Saturday. You can see there is a limited risk on there for Saturday. Most of us are probably not going to have a whole lot of issues there, but as that front slides through, not an impossibility to have some issues with that. Okay, now here to Mississippi Live Weather Radar. No real issues as we are dry and clear across the region. High pressure has shifted out to the east of us. As it has kind of adjusted and brought in moisture from the Gulf of Mexico. See some of the sprinkles we have down there toward South Louisiana associated with that. As you can think back to the north and west, this is the front that will bring us to more active weather. Thinking is that there's really kind of cool ports. The front you see there, and then some much, much cooler air that's behind that that'll eventually settle in. Once that makes its way in, you'll notice the difference. We're probably talking mid-20s next week eventually once that gets a little closer to it. But bringing it a lot closer here and looking at future cast for this evening, you don't see anything out there as far as cloud cover, much less precipitation as we remain dry here. As we kind of advance this into this evening, you can see we continue to have conditions dry and mostly clear. Let's see if I can widen this just a little bit more for you there, because it's playing havoc with me on the centering on this. So we'll see if that works a little bit better. Yeah, there we go. Going again, some of those clouds Notice it does have a couple of sprinkles out there overnight. Do I expect this to be meaningful moisture? No. This is just kind of setting the stage for adding a little moisture that eventually that front back, you can see kind of at the top of your screen, will end up using. Once that front, then that will activate more of those rain chances by later in the day for tomorrow. But again, this evening and tonight, we are dry. Before that, beginning temperature for tomorrow. Notice how I leave the coverage of rainfall at 10%. And Caleb and I could have gone with a higher percentage. Here's why we didn't. This is a low confidence forecast. I've said that last couple of days. It's not just, oh, Mac won't make a decision. No, it's honestly the fuel for thunderstorms is not particularly impressive. But if for one reason or another it exceeds expectations, which is always a possibility, or at a football field, sometimes the underdog wins, right? If the fuel exceeds expectations for tomorrow, the coverage definitely increases by tomorrow night, and maybe one or two thunderstorms could rotate. That's why the tornado chance isn't zero, but that tornado chance, and honestly, severe weather chance in general, is not particularly high. In 60 seconds, we'll look into the very latest version of Futurecast, where it's placing those best chances to see some of those stronger thunderstorms, and looking ahead, of course, at some of the high school football games across the region with our Mississippi Live forecast for high school football. Will Holmeyer, you'll hear from him here in a couple minutes as Mississippi Live at 6 continues right after this from the Room Weather Center.
This roof's getting installed with our premium roofing system. Backed by our 50-year warranty. And there's a 0% financing, no payment for 6 months options that this customer utilized. If you're looking for a new roof and you need an affordable option, call Absolute Restoration.
Some people judge a book by its cover, and if you're not what people are looking for, you're kind of like a reject.
School, it feels like everyone's staring at me and I'm just kind of not really a person.
It just feels hard today. Nobody was listening to me.
And I'll try to understand me more, and I'll try to do the same.
Listening is a form of love. Find ways to support your kids at sounditouttogether.org.
Right now, from the Room to Room Weather Center, here's Mississippi's Chief Meteorologist, Matt Lovhawn.
And again, we're live here in Oxford from our Mississippi Live Game of the Week. As you can see, the Yellow Jackets over there spread out, getting ready for this game. The Chargers, it is senior night, sometimes referring to this as the mini Egg Bowl. Oxford versus Starkville, two powerhouse teams, and what should be an excellent matchup. We'll talk a little bit more about some of the other matchups going on this evening here in a couple of minutes. But obviously, the matchup of maybe greatest concern is related to the weather here. And when we look at the threats as far as severe weather is concerned for tomorrow, thinking is that we're probably not going to see much. I don't even know how many thunderstorms we're going to have. Moisture is very marginal. When we look at the different ingredients, I think that is one of the bigger limiting factors out of this. But the overall upper level wind pattern is not perfect as far as it's concerned. And hopefully that limits the overall severity. So that's why we're saying very limited tornado threat. That's why we're saying maybe a couple strong wind gusts. And isolated hail. Now, you can have limited moisture and get high base storms that produce large hail. That's why that's a slightly higher chance. But media might be overstating our case. It's not impossible, but a lot of us don't see storms at all tomorrow. That's how limited this overall chance is. And hopefully that's something that means that we end up not having issues as far as severe weather is concerned. But again, our high school game of the week here in Oxford, 63, that pregame temperature. I'm in, I guess, a light long sleeve here. I've got a jacket in there because we were going to be mid-50s by the final snap of this game and your game for tonight. A lot of those high school games moving to tonight, hopefully layered up and ready to go for that. It is going to be rather cool by the end. Again, appreciate Casey Law, the good folks up there at Langston Law for supporting us here on our Mississippi Live Game of the Week. By the way, that Spear Squad, as well as band, both still pretty close. I think Starkville's the lead on both of those. We'll have those band and cheer squads will be coming up at 10 o'clock as well. But this evening, mid to low 60s out there at this instant. After a fairly warm day, we'll actually heat up for the next couple of days as we watch this next stretch moving into the area. Duke moisture based on the states, the temperature. And when we're looking at this, we're looking for not just the blues, purple colors. We got plain green showing there's a little bit of moisture. But this is somewhat that have to be enhanced a lot more for severe weather to become a possibility. I think a greater chance of that happening as we go into and through the next 24 hours. Again, I think that largely remains our overall limiting factor here. So as we look at the conditions for your school bus forecast tomorrow presented by IMPC, we're 56 for that temperature. As you can see at pickup there, 76 by the conclusion of the game under what should be some mostly cloudy skies. Caleb, if we've locked up, give me a second here to hit refresh. Just a second. There we go. We're back. So funny thing about when you're at a high school game, we walked up here a minute ago, and we're going to get cleaned up in a second. Give me a moment. I got to rotate it and rotate it. And now we're back. They mentioned us right here when we walked in. It's like, ooh, cell phone service here is not good. I'm like, great. We're going to be doing cell phone. So anyways, if it drops out again, we'll do what we got to do related to that. But as you can see, 56, that pickup temperature, and 70 at the latter part of the day. Rain chances very spotty at most at that point. Certainly best chances for rainfall are going to be as we head into the evening there. So futurecast, we are dry for tonight. That is a clear-cut, no questions asked situation as far as this is concerned. You can see 39, 10 o'clock this evening, 56, that temperature under what should be mostly clear skies. Those winds, you see those ducks there. They represent that. See how the cloud cover starts arriving as we progress into the overnight hours. We show that fairly widespread by early tomorrow, 2 a.m. And we're in and out. Hold on. Off of the hot spot. We'll see if getting off the hot spot makes this more effective. Try 3, right? Okay. Appreciate y'all for your patience as we try to figure that out. That's one of the hard parts about doing live shots on a big sporting event like this. Because what you don't see there, if I go back this way and see behind me, all those moms and dads back there on their cell phones as they're waiting for everything to go. That's what people do, right? That's why we're Mississippi Live weather available on cell phone. It's because that's what people do, right? Okay. So as we progress into and through this morning, you can see a few isolated showers out there initially. This is much more dry than wet, but that's a sign of that returning moisture trying to prime the atmosphere for storm chances. Temperatures, we expect those lows to be in the mid to low 50s, which is a lot warmer. Remember, we started the week with temperatures in some cases were low 30s and even some 20s out there. So this is a lot warmer than earlier this week, and that moisture that's returning is the reason why. High temperatures expect to be upper 70s, maybe some low 80s out there. If not for Friday, a better chance as you head toward your Saturday to possibly have some of those. Okay, so here are the chances for rain. And notice how our futurecast here tries to say, hey, it's not impossible to have something early in the day. What tries to develop over us definitely gets more impressive as it moves into Alabama. That's the thing to note on this. What time the development zone, and anytime you're in the development zone, there's a good chance that you don't see a whole lot. And so you can see even into the afternoon tomorrow, not much showing up on there. So we are in the low confidence zone on maybe some storms, 4 or 5 o'clock. Yeah, still not much there. But if you look closely, look at this there, that cloud cover you see from Clarksville back toward north of Oxford, Holly Springs there. Watch out as we head into tomorrow evening. The chances for rainfall start increasing along that by late evening. 7 p.m. maybe something. But more likely as we head towards 8 to 9 to 10 p.m. into the evening. That's when we see some of those rain chances. So again, that's part of the reason why the folks moving those Friday night football games Thursday nights for this evening. But even then, I can't deny that. Look at that. That's green. 10 p.m. green. Now notice more of it, more darker green as we head towards, say, around 11 o'clock to midnight to 1 o'clock in the morning. But that's just a sign that there's not a ton of moisture to work off. The upper level winds, they're kind of there, but not perfectly in phase. The two things that we need the storms to be strong. Luckily for us, still some questions whether or not they're going to end up aligning there. So a good sign. By the way, I am popping on and off of 5G here. I'm going to see if even getting a foot higher makes a bit of a difference. Maybe we'll get lucky on that. Let's see if it kind of sticks with us. There we go. Okay. So here's that severe weather risk for your Friday. Obviously does include about half of the area looks near the Alabama state line more to it, obviously, than Arkansas state line. So Cleveland, Greenwood, Grenada, Water Valley. The reason you're left out of this is if it's going to line, and we're lucky enough, it's going to be close to the Alabama state line. So for a lot of us, hopefully and thankfully, that will not be the case. Wider shot shows that severe weather risk, obviously more substantial to the northwest. And when we break down the different criteria related to this, it is in particular that large hail risk that level 2 out of 5 risk comes from. As you can see above me there, that risk is in place because of the potential for maybe a couple more reports of severe weather. For most locations, this will not be severe thunderstorm. Hopefully that's the case for us, right? When we look at the tornado risk, again, this is more limited. It's not zero, but it's not high. You have to have a storm to have tornadoes. There's a pretty good chance most of us don't see storms. That's why that threat is just not one of real substance that I'm overly concerned with here, thankfully. So hopefully that's the way this ends up playing out. And as you can see there, wind, again, not an impossibility, but again, not something of a high confidence level as well. So as we look in again through your early Saturday, there's again that kind of initial front here. Yeah, I just don't show much out there in the Saturday. But some projections do try to get a couple isolated thunderstorms going, perhaps early in the day, and maybe even a couple as we head toward the afternoons. See Futurecast here, under impressed by what it's looking at. But again, with that boundary and with yet another front kind of moving in, that front, by the way, is the one that has the big colder air for next week. If it runs into just enough moisture, a couple of stronger thunderstorms, again, not impossible out of this. But as that slides away from us, again, severe weather risk, I think maybe overdone at this level 1 out of 5 risk, but certainly we will see as we get closer. In a lot of ways, the ingredients still aren't in place on Saturday. So highs on Saturday, they're going to be warmer. As you can see, low 80s. Take a good look at this because it goes bye-bye as we head in the extended forecast. Much cooler temperatures start coming in behind this here if you look at the extended. But as far as your SEC football forecast, it's presented by Carl Hogan Toyota there. Mississippi State, we're looking at 76 at halftime, temperature 78 by the conclusion. It is going to be hot there in Davis-Wade. Expect those temperatures to probably be in the mid-80s. If you're in the sunshine fully there, yeah, pretty warm. Sure. And then as we look at the forecast we're expecting and it's probably dry, possibility to run into the issues there. Okay, good. We're back connected. And I might just be on my end that I'm losing the return feed on the connection there. So Caleb, if that happens, if I completely drop out, you just get my ear and let me know that that's the thing. But we're almost done here with this. And dry, obviously, for the Ole Miss forecast and dry for Alabama. But it's not impossible. There's a couple isolated showers there. That's why you see a slightly better chance. I think the timing of that front, the blue line to kind of show through the area, with slightly more moisture down there closer to the locations around Tuscaloosa. You know, that's what I think makes it not an impossibility to have a rain chance there versus the other two where, again, I guess it's not impossible, but it's less likely. So our forecast on your Friday, storm chances most likely late in the day, maybe sprinkles early, maybe some showers earlier, but certainly later in the day, the chances get a lot better with those temperatures in the mid-70s for highs. Here's a look at that 7-day forecast there. And you'll note that it dropped a lot more for Sunday. As you look at front begin, and yeah, that stuff's all moisture out of here. So we are drier as we go into your obviously Sunday, and then by Monday, Tuesday next week, only 20s for highs. That is a big deal in that is going to ensure that we are much cooler for next week, and those rain and storm chances are a non-issue as we head through that extended forecast there. But again, with our Mississippi Live game of the week, the band here playing in the Oxford area, getting ready to get on the field there. It is senior night, and so all the parents are kind of moving into place as far as that is concerned as well. Well, all of your highlights coming up tonight at 10 o'clock I wish we had Gabe here. Gabe probably does a fair job with highlights. I'll do my best to try to make sure we can make it viewable, and we'll hopefully have with these two very, very strong hours. But live game of the week here in Oxford. I'm Chief Meteorologist Matt Lopham from Mississippi Live Weather. We'll have the very latest again on all of our high school games come up here in a couple of minutes.
You're not going to get it all right. Just make sure you nail the big stuff.
Mama!
like making sure your kids are in the right seat for their age and size. Get it right at nhtsa.gov/the right seat.
Hate is loud, but love is the majority.
Welcome to Kohlmeyer's Corner. Yes, it's a Thursday night. Normally Kohlmeyer's Corner is at 5 and 6 on Friday here on Mississippi Live. But with all the rain and the inclement weather predicted for tomorrow night by my friends here at Mississippi Live, the games are being played tonight. And that's why we are previewing some of the top matchups. Now, don't forget, 5A, 6A, and 7A in Mississippi, they still have one regular season game left. And why don't we start with 7A, and that's number 1 ranked Tupelo in 7A, taking on DeSoto Central. DeSoto Central having a fine year. They've never won 7 games before in the regular season. Tonight, though, they host the number 1 ranked team in 7A, number 2 overall in the state. And, of course, Tupelo, Ty Harden, he's got a dynamic 1-2 punch in the backfield with Kylan Bobo, J.J. Hill. Both of those guys are averaging over 9 yards a carry. And don't sleep on quarterback Braylon Williams. He is back. He's had his first 3 games. He's rushed for 6 touchdowns. He's thrown for 2. So yet another weapon in that backfield for Tupelo. And, of course, you see what DeSoto Central did last week. They won by 3 touchdowns over Hernando. They got big games out of Cade Rogers, their fine running back. And Eric Perry, talk about being efficient, right? 12 of 15. He had a touchdown pass. That was to Cade Rogers. He also ran for 55 yards. They're going to need that kind of game tonight if they're going to try to upset Tupelo. Now, just down the road from DeSoto Central in Oxford, our game of the week. You've seen Matt there already, and we've got Starkville and Oxford. That's the Lil Egg Bowl. It's the high school football version of the Egg Bowl. Starkville had that tough loss last week, last-second field goal by Madison Central, so they can't win the division, can't even finish 2. They'll be 3 or 4, depending on what happens tonight between Madison Central and Clinton. But you see Kingston Johnson, he tried his best. He ran for 3 touchdowns, threw for over 200 last week against Madison Central. Torian Knox had a nice night as well against the Jaguars. And you see what Oxford has done. 3 straight division titles, 5 now for Chris Cutcliffe in his 10 years in charge of Oxford. Of course, they won the state title in 2019 as well. They're going for their 15th straight division win tonight, and they're favored at home to knock off Starkville. Now, I talked about 5, 6, and 7A. They still have tonight the regular season. But for 1, 2, 3, and 4A, the playoffs begin tonight. And there are so many terrific matchups in the area. It was hard for me to pick just one, so I was able to convince my friends here to let me preview 2 of them. And one of them is in 4A in Shannon. Big matchup there in Southern Lee County tonight. New Albany and Shannon both have had some terrific moments this year. Both are 7-3, and both are trying to advance to the second round next week in the 4A state championship run. And then there's in 2A in Union County, Myrtle and Hatley. The Hawks have won 7 of 9. The Tigers having a nice season as well. They've won 6 of the 9. So they're also trying to advance to next week in the playoffs. But that's the story now as we take a look at some of the top high school football matchups in the area tonight. We'll have more from Matt in our game of the week, but now we'll send it back over to Caleb.
Well, a big thanks to our Will Kohlmeyer giving us that good insight into the high school football games going on across North Mississippi. I know my brother and parents are going to be at the Oxford Starkville game rooting on their Yellow Jackets, so definitely a big game when I went to school there, and it will be a big game tonight. But before y'all go and y'all leave, I want to give y'all also a little sneak peek on what our chief meteorologist, Matt Loppon, was doing earlier today before making it to the game of the week.
Well, hey there, I'm
I'm here at Room to Room in Tupelo. You know, one of the many things that they are doing in this season where we celebrate and are thankful for all of the great things in our life is trying to get some of the kids from the Tupelo Children's Mansion adopted. With me here is Amber with Room to Room, and you've got this little guy. Show this guy.
Is he not the cutest?
He might not be wearing suspenders, but that vest.
Look, so cute.
Okay, so what are y'all doing?
Okay, so this is an annual thing. We've done this every year. It's a pajama drive. They can get, look on the back of this little guy's picture, and it's going to have his age and shirt and pant size and slippers. They bring that back to the store by December 15th. We're going to get them wrapped, and then they're going to go to the Children's Mansion kids' pajamas on Christmas Eve.
That is incredible, you know, and Christmas pajamas aren't cheap, but it's one of those ways, you know, obviously to make them just bring a smile to their face.
Yeah, it's an experience, and we love being a part of that. And Room to Room fans and customers have been partnering with us for a very long time, for many years, coming in and doing this, and our open house is the kickoff for that.
Absolutely. Open house tonight, tomorrow, into the weekend as well. One of the other things you have here, I got to come over here and take a look at this, because one of the things that, you know, I know that people have asked Lisa about over and over again that also is raising money for something is this. This is a legit cookbook from her, right?
I know. Isn't this amazing? So Lisa loves to cook, and, you know, she does this annually, our Christmas open house, and she puts it on, and everybody's like, oh, I want to try that. I want to try that. So we have cookbooks this year. They're going to have all of her favorite things that you guys love so much. And, of course, it's going to help the Rooted Path out front, which is for the community.
Absolutely. It's just, you know, kind of incredible experience, you know, kind of a gift that Lisa has been working on that people have helped out with. And so we're just excited to see that way it comes along. I just love the field of flowers next to it during the warm season. If you haven't checked that out, that is worth the trip here alone. So open house going on tonight. We mentioned tomorrow as well as Saturday. What can folks expect with that?
Well, you're going to expect getting inspired. As you can see behind me, we have lots of Christmas decor, lots of beautiful things for your home. Of course, lots of yummy things to try. We also have a $100 coupon. We've got coupons for you guys, $100 off a $4.99 purchase or 20% off accessories. Of course, we have tons of Peter's Pottery, a lot of great gift ideas, everything for your senses. Just come in and check it out.
Absolutely. So again, working to help out those kids at the Children's Mansion, raising money for the Rooted Path here at Room to Room over the course of this weekend. Just thank you for all the stuff you and Miss Lisa do for the community and the entire staff here at Room to Room. We're just so glad and glad to be partners with y'all in the Room to Room Weather Center and what we're doing here at Mississippi Live Weather. Thank you so much.
Thankful for you. Yes, joy to the world. Merry Christmas.
Well, there you go. You got to make sure to go visit the Room to Room open house. Very excited to see that event go on. I need to go check it out at some point this weekend. But here's the QR code, both the iOS and Android app. We appreciate all the support that you have given us and all the feedback as well, because we want to make sure that app is tip-top shape for all of you out here in Mississippi. Of course, we will have another broadcast later on tonight at 10 o'clock to give you the highlights and band and cheer squad of the week winners. So it'll be an amazing broadcast showing off everything game of the week wise, and of course giving you the very latest on those updates heading into tomorrow and the weekend ahead. So y'all go out, enjoy some high school football, enjoy y'all's Thursday evening, and we'll be back here in the Room to Room Weather Center at 10.
People tell me how lucky my daughter is to have been adopted. But really, we're the lucky ones. Learn more at adoptuskids.org.
Hear that? That's the sound of your life. But every time you drive after drinking, the music gets drowned out. Buzz driving is drunk driving.